this meeting of Millersville Borough Council to order as of 6:01 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed. I ask that you please now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll be seated.
I'm worried. Zipper on my coat broke. And I was trying to zip my coat up.
All right. I already started out of order, didn't I?
It's all right.
All right, we're going to open our meeting this evening with a public hearing. We have an ordinance to amend the Millersville Borough Council Code of Ordinances, Chapter 380, zoning, to create a new use entitled Community Resource Facility, to permit the use in certain zoning districts within the borough, and to establish specific criteria related to that use. Is there a presentation or somebody presenting for this? No? Okay. So we will start the hearing by accepting comments from the public. If you needed a copy of that particular ordinance, they are available on the table up front, as well as any of the other ordinances that we'll be discussing this evening. Do we have any comments then at this time as far as this ordinance amendment from the public?
With my pen.
All right, in that case, I will close the public hearing. As far as consideration, any discussion points for that? This was both in the shared file in the email, as well as, like I said, available in physical copy up here, but does closely match what we agreed to during prior sessions. Okay. Seeing none, then I will motion to approve the ordinance and to amend the Millersville Borough Code of Ordinances, Chapter 380, zoning, to create a new use entitled Community Resource Facility, petitioned by the Loft Community Partnership, LLC. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mike. One last call for discussion. Very well. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries with unanimity. All right, moving on from there, Mr. Mayor, I believe you have something to share with us.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you very much. As we all know, Millersville Police Department takes part in having a school resource officer at Penn Manor. And February 15th is being established by the National School Resource Officers as Appreciation Day for all school resource officers across the nation. The first school resource officer program in the United States began in Flint, Michigan in the late 1950s. This program was created to improve relationships between police and young people. In the late 1900s, this was a major push to provide law enforcement officers in our schools with the 1999 Columbine High School shooting in Littleton, Colorado. Our country saw a greater need for the rise for having our officers in our schools protecting our children. In Lancaster County, Millersville Borough Police Department played a huge role in making history, as Officer Hottenstein, one of our officers, was the very first school resource officer in Lancaster County to patrol the hallways of Penn Manor High School. Not only he also participated in coaching the girls' soccer team, attended many after-school events, volunteered with the State Police Camp Cadet Program, and helped develop the SRO position into a partnership between our police department and Penn Manor School District. The school resource officer works in a school to help create safer environments for our students and staff. They work very closely with school administrators. They also have to attend a 40-hour training to get that certification to be in our schools. So at this time, proclamation is, whereas the National Association of School Resource Officers is dedicated to making schools and children safer by providing the highest quality training to school-based law enforcement officers, and whereas school resource officers bridge gaps between youth and law enforcement and embrace a triad concept of school policing, serving serving in informal counseling, education, and law enforcement roles to support students and communities they serve. And whereas by training law enforcement officers to counsel, educate, and protect school communities, the men and women of the National Association of School Resource Officers continuously lead by example and promote a positive image of law enforcement to school children and school communities. And whereas SRO programs across the globe are funded as collaborative efforts by police agencies, law enforcement officers, educators, students, parents, and communities to create safe learning environments, provide valuable resources to school staff members, foster positive relationships with students, and develop strategies to resolve problems that affect youth with the goal to protecting all children so they can reach their fullest potential. And whereas SROs are valuable and essential members of the educational community and deserve unwavering respect and support from the public in the pursuit of keeping schools and students safe. Now, therefore, the Borough of Millersville hereby proclaims February 15th as School Resource Officer Appreciation Day, a special day to show appreciation for school-based law enforcement officers and encourage all citizens to show their gratitude with display of support and a personal message. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Unfortunately, if I wanted to go buy the guy coffee at Manor and Her Avenue again, they don't have school that day, do they? 15th.
No, it's a Saturday.
Yeah, I'll wait till another day.
But actually, this is only the third year they've actually had this Appreciation Day.
Yeah.
And they actually chose the 15th because one of the founding members of the National School Resource Officers Association, after 22 years in law enforcement, he's still around after all that time that he worked. So they used his birthday as the appreciation because he was one of the founding members.
We awarded the guy at Her and Cottage, and now he's moved to Her and Manor Avenue. Wasn't he there 30 years? We awarded him in the summer. You know what I'm talking about?
Officer Hottenstein?
No, it's an older gentleman, drives a blue truck, and he's been at these two positions for
He
at
was one
least.
of our school crossing guards,
He's a crossing
Yeah,
guard.
not a school resource officer.
Oh, okay.
This is Officer
Well, I'm
Hottenstein.
gonna
who
buy
works-
coffee anyway.
Yep.
All right, we're going to move on then. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, you're welcome.
Excellent appreciation. To approval for our council meeting minutes on January 28th. I will make the motion to approve those minutes. Do I have a second?
Second?
Very good. Any discussion or corrections on those minutes? All right, very good. Seeing none. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Very well, motion carries. All right. I promise I'm trying to hustle this along. I know those roads are steadily getting worse for you all, and I appreciate everybody's attendance. At this point, we're going to turn to citizens' requests or concerns. Council will hear any comments, requests, or concerns from members of the public related to items on the agenda or other matters. You will have up to 5 minutes to speak. We do ask that you either come to the microphone or ask that the microphone be brought to you. Give your name and a general address for the record. And once again, do bear in mind we are being live streamed and recorded. Do we have any comments from the public at this time? All right, very good. Then we will move on from there to a presentation from Garmin Builders. They have a proposed concept plan for the property at Route 741 and 999.
Excuse me, can you move that sort of sideways so we can see it too?
You should have a small.
Oh, okay.
Got you.
It's
You
the
have
same
a-
as that one?
It is, yes.
Oh, okay.
They're going to have a couple different ones.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Williams with Garmin Builders. I just wanted to quick start with a little background of how we got to this point, since it happened over a course of several months. Back in 2024, we presented our first concept plan for this property. At that time, we were proposing 384 dwelling units and 40,000 square feet of commercial space. With the first concept plan, we presented a list of zoning text amendments that would be needed. That included increasing the allowable density from 6 dwelling units an acre to 7. obtained a recommendation of support from the Planning Commission on the higher density plan option. We proceeded then to the Public Works Advisory Committee in July of 2024. Following that meeting, we were asked to prepare a second plan, a fully by right plan option that required no zoning text amendments. As a result, we took several months to come up with a couple of plan options for this development. Both options included reducing the density to 6 dwelling units an acre. We presented our 2 plan options to the Planning Commission on February 5th, last week. These options included the by right plan option and then also our preferred plan option. We heard feedback from the public in attendance and the planning commissioners. At the conclusion of that meeting, the Planning Commission recommended that we proceed with our preferred plan option. So that's the plan that I'm going to focus on in the presentation tonight to council. The original preferred plan was submitted to borough staff to include in your packets tonight. The Planning Commission requested that we add additional commercial space to this plan and maximize the residential development at 6 dwelling units an acre. As a result, the one change that we have to the plan is to add a second mixed-use building along the 741 frontage. That plan was handed out to Borough Council members tonight, and that's a plan that's also being reviewed by the board. So with addition of the second mixed-use building, this plan would include a total of 357 dwelling units and 42,000 square feet of commercial space. The residential density is maximized at 6 dwelling units an acre. It's currently allowed by the zoning ordinance with the use of. The dwelling count includes 136 total apartment units. 96 of these units would be in standalone structures. 40 units would be on the second and third floor of the 2 mixed-use buildings that are proposed on the property. The remaining residential units on the development would be 146 townhomes and 75 single-family dwellings.
How many single-family?
75. The apartment units would be market rate rentals that would be owned by a single entity, managed by a full-time property management company, and subject to HOA requirements like any other, or like every other dwelling in the development. We've included handouts, preliminary sketches of what the apartment buildings and commercial buildings may look like. These are very preliminary and will change over the course of the review process for this plan. We are required to submit an architectural manual for the development as part of the land development plan approvals. Garmin constructed similar apartments in Leola in 2020. These apartments currently lease at around $1,750 a month. If considering inflationary costs and the timing of this construction a couple of years out, we would expect that at a minimum, the rental rates would be close to that, but likely higher, closer to the $1,800 to $1,900 a month. The final rent would be determined once construction begins and we get shovel in ground. However, just an example of the intended renter that we would have for these units, young professionals that aren't yet ready to enter the home ownership market, or empty nesters, for example, that are looking to downsize and into something that's lower maintenance living. Of the 42,000 square feet of available commercial space, 24,000 square feet would be on the first floor of the mixed-use buildings. The other or remaining space would be on 2 single-story commercial buildings on the north side of Street A. So Street A is the main street that's coming into the development off of Route 741, one of 2 entry points on Route 741. With the increased commercial space, we will have to provide an increase in parking area to meet the minimum zoning requirements. On the plan that's on the easel and then also handed out to the council tonight, there's a red hatched line that shows the approximate area of increased paving that we would expect That again will be final during additional engineering design, but we expect that will meet setback requirements of the zoning ordinance. And then even with the additional paving, we would exceed the minimum open space requirements of the zoning ordinance, minimum requirements being 25% of the land area. We're just shy of 30% with the plan that's being presented tonight. Again, that number may fluctuate up and down some with final design, but it would be well within the requirements of the zoning ordinance. And that is enough space to include a naturally preserved tree canopy area and stormwater management facility to the east side of the property. That's approximately 10 acres right now is laid out. We're largely preserving the stream that runs through the property on the east side, the main part of the property on the east side of Route 741. We also have area reserved for a common green and central park feature. And we're showing a combination of nature and then also paved recreation trails that would traverse portions of the property and connect each of the green spaces that are proposed in the development. So tonight we hope to receive some feedback from the council and the public on this plan option. We received a second recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission to accept or to advance this concept plan forward. We hope tonight the council would concur with that recommendation and then authorize Garmin to work with borough staff and the solicitor to prepare the necessary zoning text amendments to move this plan forward.
Time for questions from us now?
Let's try to keep the questions on the limited side. We're not going to be voting on anything this evening. We do want to make sure that we are sensitive to the weather outside. So if we could, by all means, question at will, but let's try to keep it as focused as possible. Go ahead, Mike.
One thing that's always bothered me, the preferred plan is one I'm looking at, which I preferred. I'm looking at the north part of the preferred plan where it says Millersville Pike, not Route 999. I'm looking at the, on the western side of Millersville Road, there's a roadway leading in. So I know you probably can't answer this now, you have to get involved with PennDOT. But in your guys' experience, if I lived in the red unit here where that roadway extends to Millersville Pike, might there be an exit there?
We could certainly explore that. We didn't show that because we haven't consulted with PennDOT at this point.
Exactly, yeah.
Once we do a scoping analysis with PennDOT, we can look at that. With the close proximity to the red light, it's going to be heavily restricted if it's permitted at all.
But I was looking at it the other way. Because there's a red light, if everyone is coming south on this and they have to wait to turn in for the red light, that's going to back up traffic more. If people are going into the complex and there's a one-way yield ramp in there, it seems to me like it would help traffic immensely, especially if I'm in the red sections up here in Millersville Pike. That roadway reaches Millersville Pike and stops. If there would be an exit there, if I'm a guy living in that red unit and I want to go to Manor, see a movie, and I could just go out that exit, not bother driving through the units and getting to that red light, then going up and turning left again. That, it seems to me, would be a better idea for traffic-wise. But
Yeah.
again, I know you have to go to PennDOT.
Yeah, a right turn movement would be the most likely option if anything.
Exactly. No one's going to go against traffic, exactly. But there seems to be about 3 places where that could happen, and it would help traffic, I think.
I know a lot of members of council did have a chance to speak with Garmin at the Planning Commission. Is there anything that's still left up in the air that maybe we want some additional clarity on?
I would just like to speak to this a little bit, and I'll try to keep it brief. When you proposed the plan in 2024, and you brought it to Public Works of Council, that was the first time we had actually seen the plan. When we had been, well, I know I had gone to the planning meeting right before that, but we didn't get an opportunity to ask questions at that meeting. So that meant at council meeting, we had to ask a ton of questions and get some clarification. And one of the things that we asked for, that we felt needed to be done, was the reduction from 7 to 5 units to tops per acre. You've come in at 6, so I want to say that I appreciate that Garmin has gone the extra step and listened to what we said at that meeting and did decrease the density. When you compare all 3 plans, which I have done and made a chart of every little thing, there's really not a tremendous amount of difference between the 3 different plans. But the preferred plan that you are presenting now definitely has shown the reduction of density, which is one of the things we ask for. We had also mentioned about apartments above commercial, and you have included that. I know that with a plan like this, when we've talked with the public, the majority of people don't want to see the land developed at all. But that's not an option because the owner of the property has every right to do that, and there's nothing we can do about that. So we know that the property is going to be developed. So it's up to us at this point to try to get the best workable plan. Traffic is going to be horrible no matter what. It's horrible now. It's not going to get any better with this development. But there may be some things, as Mike was suggesting, that there may be some things when you work with PennDOT that can be done to help improve and move traffic. And I know that there are some other ideas that have been suggested that we could possibly do at that intersection that will keep traffic moving much better. But those all remain to be seen. I do think that compared to everything we've heard so far, this preferred plan is by far the best choice that we have. A lot of us do not like the fact that there are standalone apartments. But I've gotten the impression from talking to not only residents, but the Pennsylvania Association of Boroughs people, because I've contacted them about a few of these things, and just listening to my own council members, that this is something that we're going to have to live with whether we like it or not. And what it boils down to is planning isn't going to get everything they want, council isn't going to get everything they want, and the public isn't going to get everything they want. But when it's all said and done, I think we could have a very workable plan with your preferred plan. That's it.
Does anybody have any questions for Garmin?
I do.
Yes, go ahead.
I hate, this is really confusing because we've got so many plans. The first one, planning, saw, and we didn't get a chance. The second one, you gave us, and it was different. Down on the bottom, you removed the 24 units that were overlooking Oak Knoll, and you made those 40 units and a parking area and so forth, and there was another road there that we liked. We kept telling you we liked the road down here.
This is it, yeah.
Well, no, because this goes into the, well, yeah. And so we did like that, and, but I just really would like to clarify that we will have to go over this again. I know the citizens want no apartments. That is not realistic. They have to understand that there will be apartments. And I like what you're showing here, but I do notice that you went back to the 24 units with the buildings on the bottom instead of the 40 units as you had in the second one. So there were some modifications of what we liked. And I do see that you increased the commercial, and I like that.
All right. I think we can move on from there. I want to thank you, sir, for presenting on behalf of Garmin. Any outstanding questions for us or anything else that you need to hear from council?
Do you have any?
Sure, just on behalf of Garmin, since I'm kind of the one doing the legal aspect of it, are we okay then to go forward with submitting a formal petition for the zoning ordinance changes that we need to make this work? I think it would go through obviously the formal process, but we're looking for some sort of authorization that would move forward with your solicitor.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're not in a position where we can right now vote on anything. I think you've heard, certainly from most of the folks up here. I was in attendance at the Planning Commission. I am fully in support of their recommendation. So yes, I would say that you have that authorization.
Okay, thank you.
My comment would be,
When does she make that decision?
yeah, my comment, I'm not comfortable with that decision, and I'm just telling you why. I want this open to our public. I want our citizens to be more involved with this decision. And I don't think that they are aware of it, or it hasn't been advertised, or enough people know about this. Because I can look at how many people are in this audience and know this does not represent all of the citizens that are in Oak Knoll and are also in Quaker Hills. I just know it. And so I would like to have an opportunity to let them have their voice. And so I'm just making that statement.
Well, and to address that concern, so when we start the text amendment process, there will be multiple public meetings. There will be a public hearing like the one that just happened with the loft. So there will be more opportunities for the public to come out and hear what's being discussed. We're just kind of looking for consensus as we talk with the planning commission, talk to you folks, and just the next step of the process is to sort of start the formal process, but that doesn't mean anything's getting approved right now. It's just, it gets the ball rolling in that direction.
Right, exactly.
That's right. And that's right.
All right. In that case, thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. It's appreciated. We'll move on then to our committees. Are we keeping an eye on the weather and road conditions? We're okay for now? Still good. All right, in that case, we'll move on to the Finance Advisory Committee. For the sake of our audience, could the individuals on the Finance Advisory Committee please indicate so by raising their hands? All right. So I think we might be unique in that we have a quorum. But this will be very quick. Post roll call, we're just going to review and approve the January financial record. I've had a chance to look over these. I see nothing in need of editing or that raises any red flags for me. My fellow committee members, anything in the financial
good. It's
report?
fine.
Looks good. In that case, I will motion to accept the January financial report and authorize the staff to satisfy the ordinary and routine obligations incurred by the borough for this month.
I'll second.
Very good, and all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, very good. That's it for Finance Committee. I will turn it over to, actually, Linda for Personnel, since we're down a man.
Right. I'd like a roll call because I don't think we have a quorum at all or anybody here that's representing.
I
I'm the only
don't
one.
believe that you do.
Am I only one from Personnel?
And Mike.
Mike.
Which does not represent a quorum, so you can discuss if you need to discuss, but no votes can be taken.
Okay, well, what we need to, is to review the candidate's application for the zoning hearing board for Ed Hirsch and Seth Johnston, and I do not have a copy of those.
Okay. Yeah, they're in the backup, but it's all right. We can always just table any vote that needs to be taken until our second meeting for the month.
Okay, I prefer to do that.
Yeah, let's just do that and move on to Public Works then. Yeah,
The
what-
candidates are here this evening, just,
They are not?
they are.
They
here this
are.
Oh,
evening.
they are here.
You may just want to clarify with them if they're available to come another evening.
yeah.
Well, or could they stand up and represent themselves? Would that be acceptable?
Yes, this is the time.
Okay, is Ed here?
It's right there.
Ed, would you like to come up to the microphone and explain why you would like to be on the zoning hearing board?
I can?
We'd appreciate it.
Is the mic, oh, here.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, my name's Ed Hirsch, been a member of or been a resident for almost 50 years in the borough, and I'm currently the alternate member. So I wasn't even sure if I needed to mention that I would be available to be the, whatever you call, full member. But I'm already on for an alternate, so I've gone through that process, and, yeah.
Ed, what is it that interests you about being on the zoning hearing board? What do you bring to the position?
Again, long-term resident, familiar with what residents desire and the overall makeup of the community. And my son is a realtor, and I understand a lot about property and, management of resources and things like that, so.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, we're putting you on the spot, I think. I
Yeah.
came up to the office today, I thought it would be in our mailbox, because I couldn't find the resume and the backup. So I guess we could more properly ask you questions if we all read the resume, and I apologize, I didn't get to.
Yeah,
look
I
at it.
submitted it.
We shouldn't put you on the spot with.
It is.
Yeah, and the other candidate, because we could speak more freely and ask better questions if we read the resume.
That's fine. Ed, Seth, could you put your hand up for me, please?
I'm sorry?
Gentlemen, are you available during our second meeting for this month? I believe that's going to be on the 25th.
I think so.
They
I
come
believe so.
almost every meeting, so I would guess.
As long as it's not next Monday, because that's the fire.
It's,
No.
nope, it is, it's always on Tuesdays.
Fourth
Our next
Tuesday.
meeting is
The
7
fourth
o'clock
Tuesday,
in 2
yeah.
weeks, right here. All right, why don't we table the discussion until then, give council a chance to look at that backup, and we can have those discussions then.
And to just confirm, or make sure everybody understands, it wasn't the backup.
I'm looking
There
at
are two positions. There are
Yes.
two vacancies on
Zoning.
zoning hearing board.
it. Right.
Yes, and I appreciate you getting up and explaining. So thank you. Thank you for your time. Then there's nothing else that we can do this evening.
Right, okay. We will also have to table, looks like we had a discussion about Act 49 that was scheduled for this evening as well for personnel.
Everything has to be tabled under personnel.
Yeah, exactly. And do we want to table that until our next meeting, or do we want to push that to the next personnel?
I would advise putting that on the next personnel instead.
Very good, let's do so then.
Public Works is next.
Yeah, Public Works is next. Why don't you take a...
I'll take a
it
roll
away.
call. All those in Public Works, please raise your hand. Okay, we do have a quorum on this committee. The very first thing we will be hearing this evening is the disruptive conduct report appeal. And so I'm going to guess that's why I see some of these young people here this evening. I would first like to ask the appellants to give a brief statement about your reason for appealing this DCR. Please come up here, one or all, or whoever wishes to speak.
So we were just it was the two of us who were home at the time. These guys were not here. We were getting ready for a movie, and I was straightening my very poofy hair that tends to get a little crazy with this old brush blow dryer that I have, and I don't typically bring this into my room, but for some reason I decided to bring this into my room and do it in front of my mirror. That happens to be where my desk and my mirror is, right above or below the smoke alarm in my room. We typically have neighbors that have had a record of setting the fire alarm off, so we at the time kind of just made the assumption on our part that it was the neighbors who once again set off the fire alarm, but it seems like that wasn't the case, and it was in fact my hairdryer, so we left to go catch our movie. We had tickets included and everything. We were planning to see this at 7 o'clock, like right before, or right after the fire alarm had gone off.
Yeah, so the fire alarm went off. I was getting ready to go see the movie. We just decided to just leave straight from the apartment to the movie because we just figured it was not our apartment. We've lived there for over 2 years, never have once set off the fire alarm. We got back, the light was on, we just had assumed maybe we had just left the light on. A couple days later, we got the DCR in our mailbox, and it said that there was marijuana smell outside and inside the apartment. I don't deny that it probably did smell like marijuana outside because, like we said, our neighbors have consistently set off the fire alarm and our block consistently smells like marijuana. However, the smell traveling inside, we don't understand because McKenna was blow drying her hair and I was just getting ready for the movie. We do live in a second floor apartment, so it may have traveled up how smoke rises, or the police officer noted that McKenna's window was cracked open, so perhaps the smell came in through the window.
And it does tend to get hot in those little rooms too, since I was using a heated electric dryer as well. That is why I propped it open a little bit.
Me and McKenna previously worked for Student Lodging Incorporated. We were manager's assistants, the MAs. And upon receiving the DCR, we were terminated. We had a meeting with them. We told them basically everything that we have in that appeal. They said that there was nothing they could do, considering that we have the DCR attached to our name. But they gave us a little bit of hope, saying that if we were to get that appealed, we may be able to get our jobs back. And I think that's me and McKenna's main motive for standing before you guys today. And then as for our two other roommates, Riley and Ethan, they were not home at all that day that the fire alarm had gone off, and so they have really nothing to do with this. But we did want to say that we understand that the police officer was strictly doing his job.
Absolutely.
I think that given every single thing that had gone down that night, us leaving, the smell, like, I understand where he was coming from.
And we would have responded sooner had we known that that was our apartment that set off the unit as well.
Yeah, but we just did not. And I know he also came back an hour later as well. Our bosses at Student Lodging told us that, but again, we were at the movie and our roommates weren't home, so we weren't able to speak to him when he came back to our apartment.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Of course.
At this time, I'd like to hear from the police officer.
Oh, I'm sorry, just for one moment.
Yes.
Could you just state all your names just for the record?
McKenna Goldstein.
Hope Davis.
Riley Canan.
Ethan Hartner.
Good evening. My name is Officer Guyberson, and I was dispatched to the address on the DCR for an automatic fire alarm. When I pulled up, I had a pretty heavy odor of burnt marijuana smell as I was pulling into the complex. And when I looked at the apartment, I had noticed that the window to the front bedroom, one of them, was cracked open about 6 to 8 inches. So I pulled up around to the 700 block building, and I walked out, and as I was walking toward the apartment, the smell got stronger. Management came and let us in the building. The lights were on when I arrived, and so we went up, and as soon as the door opened, I had the odor of burnt marijuana. We went into room A is where the alarm was set off, and room A definitely had the heaviest smell of burnt marijuana. And then I immediately went outside to see if I could see anybody. I didn't see any of these folks. And one of the residents had said that when the alarm went off, whoever was in there left the building quickly and drove away in a car. So, again, I had tried to come back and speak with them and make contact with them later, and nothing was done, so I just filed the DCR because, I mean, I can't prove who was smoking, but there was definitely a smell of burnt marijuana in that building.
Would you say that that smell was in fact on the second floor in the area of where these folks live?
Most definitely.
Most definitely, okay. Okay, you all may be seated. I've read the entire thing that the people have, the young ladies have submitted about the whole situation. And then we listen to what our police officer says, and the two don't quite jive. making me question who is telling us the whole truth. Now, I'm sure that the officer is telling us the whole truth because he was there and smelled this. You folks left almost immediately after the alarm went off, and so to me, that's a little bit suspect. Mike and Linda, what do you think? I'm having a hard time with this
I'm having a
one.
hard time with this too. I hate a situation where someone loses their job.
That's right.
Primary for me. On the other hand, I understand the evidence of the report. This is a tough one. I don't want anyone to lose their job. I don't want that to happen. And if it's a one-time mistake, as you stated, I think it was correct. The first,
We had never set off the fire alarm before,
Or gotten a DCR at all.
or ever gotten a DCR. And again, attached to the note is the movie ticket that we have, and that is why we left, so.
is it a possibility that someone entered your apartment after you left? Do you lock it? No? There's-
Yeah,
so-
we lock it, and both me and my roommate, who's then the ones that were not there, we live almost 2 hours away, like back in our home.
So you're saying it's not a possibility anyone else was in your apartment? Well, then that leads me back to the police report, though.
Yeah.
Can I just make one
This is a
comment?
tough one.
Yes, Chief.
I admit that.
Yeah, Chief, go
I just
ahead,
want to make
please.
one comment. You all are very aware of all the effort and time we have put into with the fire department and these false alarms.
Yes.
I know.
And you may not remember, in the beginning, I did have some minor input into that, but at one point I pointed out, there are mechanisms in place for Brookwood, which is our disruptive conduct ordinance, which is what you're looking at right now, which I explained at that time. There can be consequences through that, even though there wasn't a false alarm ordinance. So I'm just putting this out there to you as a reminder that this has played an important role also to help cut down on those false alarms when there's consequences when we get there and we have something like this where we can write up the disruptive conduct ordinance.
Officer Giberson, and I just want you to know there is no relation between me and this.
Yeah, you should make that clear.
I've never met him. What time did you go there?
Oh, ma'am, I'd have to reference my report.
Okay, I'm just curious, because they did show their movie ticket here, and that has a time on it, so I was just trying to figure out what the proximity was between the two. And you must have gotten there fairly quick after they left, because if the smell of marijuana was that strong,
Well, I arrived before the fire department, so, and we all know that Chief Eshelman is pretty quick.
oh yeah.
On the spot, so, I did arrive pretty quickly into it. If I may, I feel like we need to enforce the fact that the fire alarm was set off, but I'm a gracious person, so I'm okay with whatever you choose to do.
I have an opinion.
Good.
I stand with the students. It's circumstantial. Crazy things in life happen. Getting the tickets, I don't know if anybody smokes marijuana in your unit, but anyway, it's situational. And if the other apartment down the hallway uses pot all the time and smokes, that whole smell is gonna be over everything. It's on clothes, it's in the hall, it's like smoking a cigarette. So, in this case, and because the two students that are with student lodging they understand this, they would be the last people on earth to set an alarm off. And that's where I stand.
Mike?
I know, like I said, it's a tough one, and I can only give a personal experience. I was with a group of guys watching the Final Four at Pinchot Park, and I wasn't one of the violators, but I was with the 8 people there, and we all paid a fee for that. And so I have that to your account, too. It's hard for me to go, what the chief said there, it's hard for me to go against that, but I do realize the smoke could not have been from your party. if the,
Might have not been.
it's a tough one. This is a tough one. I hate for someone to lose their job. That is a very important aspect of one's life.
Well, and I'm having a tough time with it because my personal feeling is that we need to support our police officers. And we have been working very hard, as the chief knows and everybody else knows, on a false alarm ordinance, and this has been going on, and I think tonight we might actually be moving ahead with that. And so, I hate to see anyone lose their job, but honestly, I think with the stuff that does go on overall, my feeling is that I need to support the police. Mike?
You want to make a motion?
I just want to know
I
where you
agree
stand.
with you. In my history, I've supported the police, and this is, and I understand the background of this one. This might be the first time I abstain from a vote. I'm torn.
Can't.
Oh, okay. I'm torn with this one.
financial interest.
No, I don't.
Well, we need to make a motion to approve the appeal or to deny the appeal.
How many of us are here? Do we have a,
3, so we do have a quorum. So I will make the motion to deny the appeal of the tenants at 804 Hillview Avenue concerning the disruptive conduct report as issued on 1/12/25.
Does the motion have a second?
I suppose I would second it. I'm sorry, but I think you were at the wrong place at the wrong time. And I wish I had more time to think about this.
I know, this is a tough one. That's why I emailed everybody and told them to be sure to read it before tonight. All those in favor of denying the motion, or denying the appeal, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Mike? You seconded, so you have to.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. That's right.
Ask for nays.
We need a roll call.
All right.
Thanks, Mo, pull up the paper.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right. Councilmember Giberson?
Deny.
Deny, what do you say no?
That means that we are,
Yeah, you're voting aye to deny the appeal.
I'm voting aye to deny the appeal.
Okay, got it.
It gets complicated.
Councilmember Koppel?
I'll say aye. This is one thing that we've had a history of, we need to enforce it, and I think you're wrong place, wrong time. I'll have to say aye.
Councilmember Balil?
Nay?
The motion carries. The appeal is denied. Okay, let's move on to the review of the January codes and zoning report. Boy, that was a tough one. Even when I read it, I thought it was tough.
Thank you,
They
council.
didn't do it. They didn't, they just.
In January, we issued 10 permits. We did 6 residential inspections. We had 173 rental renewals, 158 inspections, and we issued 32 snow and ice quickie tickets and 4 complaints. So far in February, we issued 3 permits and performed 10 inspections. We had 23 rental renewals and 7 inspections, and then 6 trash and rubbish quickie tickets were out. Is there any other questions with the rest of the report?
Now, I think your reports are always very good and very complete when we get them.
Thank
Does
you.
anybody have any questions for Rob? Then all those in favor of accepting the codes and zoning report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then the motion carries and everything is approved.
Thank you very much.
Now, the next item on the agenda, discussion of an updated false alarm ordinance and approval to advertise. We have been working on this, sort of like forever. And this evening, in one of our former meetings, we invited Blue Rock, the college, student lodging, and maybe that was it, the three basic people, to weigh in on what they felt the terms should be and the definitions for a false alarm, so that we have it written out correctly, and so that it will actually serve the purpose for which it is intended. So we have two parts to this. The first part is the ordinance, and we had sent all of the information to the solicitor, and she has written the ordinance on false alarms now, so that we will finally have this, and it spells things out very well, and it spells things out very much the way everyone would like to have it. And everybody should have gotten a copy of that. And what we want to do this evening is to approve this out of committee so that we can then get it advertised. So I make a motion to advertise an ordinance to amend the Millersville Borough Code of Ordinances to add a new Chapter 110 alarm systems and schedule the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying
Ask for
aye.
a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, second?
Second that. Yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? The motion is carried, so we can finally move forward with that. Now, attached to that is also a resolution, and that we cannot do this evening, I don't think. But the resolution deals with, where do I find it? There it is. What the fines would be for false alarms and all of that sort of thing. And so that will be coming at a later date. We should do that, Rebecca?
Yes, so, we voted the ordinance out of committee tonight for advertising.
Right.
At the next meeting, you would vote to advertise it by full council.
By full, right?
And then, when that would be scheduled for a public hearing, in that evening, you could also vote in the resolution, because you can't have the resolution talking about an ordinance that doesn't exist.
Right, exactly. So we need to do that, and a lot of that will come up at the next meeting. Okay, any questions concerning that? Okay, then let's move along quickly here to approval to advertise a draft ordinance to amend parking regulations on East Frederick Street. You got that in your backup material. We've talked about this before. It's really just to amend the ordinance to reflect exactly what's going on anyway, if I understand this correctly.
I'll note that just one change that occurred in this one versus the one you saw at the last meeting was the request from the university to change the parking in between high school and George there on East Frederick to be angled front-in parking versus
Okay.
the parallel it is now.
Okay. Then I will make a motion to advertise an ordinance to amend the Millersville Borough Code of Ordinances, Chapter 350, Vehicles and Traffic, to revise parking regulations and schedule a public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Then that motion is carried, and then that's out of committee. And that concludes Public Works.
Very good. Mr. Mayor, anything to report?
Nothing more tonight.
All right, very good. Ms. Manager, anything to report?
Yes, there's two items for the manager's report this evening. The first one is requesting approval for the agreement with Columbia Borough concerning municipal yard waste. As we currently bring most of our yard waste to Columbia Borough, or I should say our hauler brings our yard waste to Columbia Borough. We do not participate. Although I've been asked. So this is a new agreement this year because their prices have gone up slightly, and a change on our end, not on their end, is that we are now bringing yard waste and leaves to Columbia Borough versus in previous years we were bringing yard waste to Columbia Borough and leaves to Manor Township.
So now leaves also go to Columbia, not Manor.
Yes, right. So in order for us to move forward with continuing this agreement, we need to sign the agreement. the agreement was provided in your backup documents. It is technically an agreement for this calendar year, would be expiring on December 31st, 2025. However, the agreement states in there that it could be extended in one-year increments going forward without needing to do a new agreement.
Very good. Questions about the agreement? It was included in the backup. Very good. Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve an agreement with Columbia Borough for the receiving of the borough's municipal yard waste. Do I have a second?
Second?
Very good. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you. The other item is not a voting item, just more of an FYI. Unfortunately, the consulting group that was doing both our park master plan and work with helping us update our Saldo and street and sidewalk ordinances, that organization closed last month, at the end of last month, which left us in a bit of a tricky situation because the park master plan was steps away from being done, and we were intending on going for grant funding for that this year, as well as we were sort of at the end with the Saldo and street ordinance, but those were yet to come back to council for approval. So I wanted to let you know that we're pivoting and working in contact now with 2 different firms who could potentially help us finish these items. But URDC is no longer in business, and they were doing a number of projects for us. So it might take us a little longer to get through getting the park master plan back to council for final approval, and then approval to go for grant funding. Same thing with the Saldo and the street ordinance. So it might take a little bit longer, but the projects have not been dropped. We're just trying to pivot and find a new firm that could work with.
This doesn't mean starting all over. No.
Does not mean starting all over. They're able to take what we've done and work with it. Unfortunately, because they're picking up something that somebody else worked on, this might cost us a little bit more because it's not their work, so they're kind of going back a little bit. But I'm asking for proposals right now, and we'll see what the prices come in at. But I just wanted to let you know, if you were thinking, oh, I haven't seen that park master plan in a month or two, that would be the reason. But we're gonna make it work.
All right.
That's all I got.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much, Rebecca. My report's going to be brief. Number one, I wanted to thank the members of council for coming to the Planning Commission last week. I was heartened to see every individual member of council come to see that initial presentation by Garmin and to see the interactions that we had with them and the engagement that we had with them. I wanted to make sure that we were in alignment here. The primary method for communication to council members from our manager is email. Let's make sure that we have that email access, that you are able to look at that, and that you have some kind of routine that you follow, whether it's every day or every other day or something along those lines, that we're keeping an eye on those emails. Similarly, a lot of the material that we use for these meetings are in the online backup. If you have issues accessing that or interfacing with that, please do bring that to Rebecca's attention. We have another company, Cidium, that can help with any technical issues that you may have in accessing that. I just want to make sure that all members of council do have access to that and are checking that, the emails on the regular, and checking their backups prior to meetings here in council. That's it for me. We will have one last opportunity for public comment here. So once again, council will hear any comments, requests, or concerns from members of the public related to items on the agenda or other matters. You will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Again, please come to either microphone to speak or ask that the microphone be brought to you, and also do give your name and a general address for the record. Now, at this time, is there anybody who would like to address council before we wrap things up for the evening? Oh, by all means, come on up.
Stephanie Hirsch, 72 Blue Rock Road. I just wanted to mention, Linda, thank you for suggesting about the And I know you're all concerned about that too, that all citizens hear about this development. And is there a possibility of having another session like we did at Eshelman? Doesn't have to be at Eshelman School, but somewhere where the citizens could all be informed, especially Quaker Hills, I think, to know what's going on. And because it's going to impact all of us, of course, no matter what area, parking or whatever, driving, getting out of town and so forth. But I think Quaker Hills especially, I would like the people to be able to know, I don't know, flyers in the door or somehow. I mean, not everybody looks at email. I look at the website to try to see what's going on, but I know I shouldn't say nobody, not everybody does that, but.
The only thing I can think of is flyers. Somebody will have to go out and knock on doors or just leave flyers on doors. And, it'll take 2 or 3 hours. I'm used to, I know the area very well. I thought about doing it for this meeting, but because of the weather, I didn't.
Sure.
And I might mention that when we had that meeting over at Eshelman, that was back when we were working on the comprehensive plan.
Right.
And we were getting public input at that time.
Yes.
We had a very, very good turnout at that meeting, over there. And I think we would get the same kind of turnout for this topic. Rebecca, I don't think you were here then yet. I don't know, does anybody remember how we got the word out about that? I mean, I don't,
Facebook,
Yeah.
website.
Facebook,
I guess it was all of
emails,
that. I mean,
maybe.
I was on the committee, but I don't remember exactly how
Right.
we did that.
I think maybe an email list or something of the community, somebody.
But if they're not looking at their emails or they're not computer illiterate, because we have a lot of older
Yeah.
people, really knocking on doors is the way to go. Or at
Right.
least going and putting flyers on doors, even though people
Right.
hate it.
I mean, I'm sure we could find some volunteers. I'd volunteer for that.
Yeah, that would be good. I'll remember
For
that.
getting out door to door.
Remember that.
You can remember it.
Okay, okay.
I guess,
pick a
Rebecca,
nice
the
day.
question is, can we do that? I mean, we can. May we do that?
This is probably a good conversation for us to have at a different point because there's a lot of things to consider.
Right.
Yeah,
So
an
it is-
awful lot.
It is absolutely council's intention to remain transparent as we move through this process, as long as you understand that this is going to be a years-long endeavor with a bunch of different checkpoints. We have no desire to keep the public in the dark on any of the decisions
course
being
not.
made. Certainly, we can explore some options such as website updates or similar items, and just frankly, having these discussions here at council and having those people who are concerned show up to the meetings. Our agenda is announced in advance.
Right.
But no, we appreciate the feedback, and this is certainly something that we have intended to keep at front of mind, is making sure that the public stays informed, and we will make sure that we stay on top of the best ways to do that so that we can
Sure.
get that feedback as we move through the process.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, just a reminder that the comprehensive plan was developed with all that input and everything. So one thing to do would be, how does this plan that's proposed tonight line up with the comprehensive plan? I know that was a question earlier in the process, that it wasn't, there was a lot of things that really didn't jive. So the first thing to look at is, how well does this plan line up with the comprehensive plan? We put so much work into that, and there was input at that time. So does this comply?
Thank you. Yeah, we are obviously keeping an eye on the comprehensive plan as we move through this process and speaking with those individuals who were foundational in setting that plan up. Whether or not it is entirely in line is a thing that we're going to have to explore as we move forward, but it's our intention to be in line with that plan as we go where it makes sense to do so.
And I might also add that, adhering to the comprehensive plan has been something that I have mentioned at more than one meeting, and I am constantly getting pushback that we don't have to follow the comprehensive plan to the letter. And I guess maybe we don't, but then why spend all the time writing one?
Exactly.
So I know where you're coming from, because I've been getting pushback when I say I'd like to stick to it.
Do we have other individuals in the audience that would like to, by all means, please?
Good evening, Nicole Nafziger, Manor Avenue. First, I want to thank you all for your time. I know that, this is a high-paying job and that this is where you wanted to be tonight on a snowy evening. So thank you for your time. Thank you for the council members who supported following your ordinances and supporting your police officers. I think as taxpayers, we can all agree that we've elected you to do that. And so thank you. We appreciate you keeping civility and things in order in the borough. I mainly want to talk about the project on 741 and 999. I've been here before. You're probably tired of hearing from me. But I implore you to consider the impact that this neighborhood is going to have on our community at large, not just Millersville Borough, but also Penn Manor as a whole. We're in this together. With other municipalities. I don't know if you pay attention to school board meetings, but about a month ago, the Penn Manor administration suggested that their school board implement a 12% property tax increase over the next 5 years. And that is solely to cover the cost to build new buildings and teach new students due to the impacts of neighborhoods that are coming into the district, this neighborhood being in part of that consideration. And so I would implore you to please talk to the school district, to talk to the builder about impact fees. You can, as a municipality, require that. If they're going to impact the lives of the people that live here, you can require them to pay for that. And to see how that can offset the costs for property tax owners, or property taxers in Millersville Borough. I would also implore you to stick with the lowest density option you can do as per your ordinances with the highest commercial, because that is going to have the lowest impact on our property taxes for Millersville Borough and for all residents, because like I said, we're in this together, especially when it comes to educating our children. I know that Penn Manor, and I'm here speaking solely on behalf of Nikki Nafziger as a resident of Millersville Borough, but I can promise you that Penn Manor will educate whatever students come in the door, but together, as a community, we're gonna have to pay for that. And I don't know about you, but I'm not excited about paying 12% more in my property taxes 6 years from now. And that's before the district does anything else. So please, please, please take that into consideration. Reach out to Dr. Gale, reach out to the administration, reach out to your school board directors, and talk about how the municipality and the district can work together to make sure that we're doing the best we can for our taxpayers. So again, thanks for your time.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't some of the tax increase be involved with the sewer? Wasn't that part of our tax increase, the work we're gonna do in the sewer? The tax increase, we were talking about a tax increase based on improvements in the sewer, but somehow your viewpoint sounds a little bit elitist here in terms of people that are coming into the district.
No,
No, not at all. Not at all. What I'm saying is that when new neighborhoods come into the area, they bring more kids. And I was here a year ago and shared with you that Eshelman is full. There's nowhere else for children to go into that building. The high school is all but full. There's nowhere else for children to go, which means that the school district is going to have to build new buildings and hire more teachers, which is going to cost all of us in property taxes. And all I'm suggesting is that as we look at building in this municipality, where I have a say because I live here and you all have a say because you sit behind that desk, it should be part of the consideration when looking at density and what's coming in, understanding that it's going to cost everyone here more, and that those homes are not going to cover the cost.
That's right.
Of the impact they're going to make. So talk to the builder about impact fees. There's things that we can do to lessen the burden on all of us, and we can work together to do that. That's all I'm
I
suggesting.
have some good news.
Yes.
I have some real good news.
I love good news.
This is good news.
Okay.
I heard it from Blue Rock. I had
Okay.
a meeting Thursday.
Yes.
And Manor Township, the bad news is that
Everybody's
Manor
building.
Township is going to be building apartments. And they're going to be off the corner, up going on 741 to the left.
That's
They are already thinking about putting their putting their minds together and everything, they're going to be building an elementary school.
That is not been, I can tell you that that has not been discussed with Penn Manor School District, so I'm not sure where that information
Okay,
comes from.
that
So I
information,
don't, we should probably not.
no, but
say
that information came from a supervisor, came
Yeah.
from a supervisor.
I do have
I don't-
one quick question.
Yes,
Can,
There we go.
okay, good, I'm good with that, yes.
Thank you, Nicole.
can we require impact fees?
That's something that we can explore down the line.
That's something I want to know about, because that's an excellent idea.
And we should find out and confirm whether Manor really is putting in an elementary school.
That's, that's outside the borough.
Yeah, but they will, I was
They'll go to
told
Penn
that the
Manor.
students would go to that school also.
Very good. I don't believe we have anything for executive session, do we? Very good. In that case, I'm going to make a move that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second, I could, we'll have 20 of those.
All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.